After Chen Yang's departure, the gray-robed youth turned to Han Li, his eyes gleaming with disdain. With a swift motion, he gripped Han Li's shackles, lifting him from the cold stone floor, then unleashed a devastating punch to his lower abdomen. The force of the strike sent a wave of agony through Han Li's body, as though a blade had carved into his very being, leaving his insides twisting in torment. His face blanched, beads of sweat dripping from his brow as his body quivered. "Did that feel good?" The gray-robed youth sneered, his voice dripping with malice. Han Li, head bowed, gave no reply, but his silence only seemed to satisfy the young man further. With a chuckle, he produced a key to unlock the shackles and spoke. "You'll obey here. Disobey, and that punch is but a taste of what awaits." Han Li, perplexed, slowly rose to his feet. The youth's cold voice broke the stillness once more. "Planning an escape? Look at your chest." Han Li glanced down and saw a slight bulge beneath his robes. When he probed with his spiritual sense, he detected a black centipede pressed against his heart. "That's a black tribulation centipede, a special tool of our Green Goat City. Try to flee or expel it, and it'll tear your heart asunder," the young man taunted, his grin widening as Han Li's brow furrowed, though no fear was apparent in his demeanor. The youth tossed a badge to Han Li, who caught it to discover his name, Li Feiyu, etched upon one side, with the number 9 followed by 332 on the reverse. "This is your number," the gray-robed youth said, leading Han Li down a dark corridor. They soon entered a vast hall, the air thick with the scent of anticipation, as waves of cheers echoed from beyond the walls. Black stone adorned the hall, exuding an aura of indestructibility. At the back of the hall, a long stone table was manned by crimson-robed figures, while a line of gladiators, dressed in wide capes and short breeches, stood before them. "Take note," the youth instructed. "This is where the battles happen. Gladiators, both slaves and those from Profound City, are all divided into 10 areas. You belong to the 9th. Han Li's gaze swept over the gathered gladiators. There seemed to be many. "Indeed, Dot. Many come to hone their skills, though most are slaves. And you'll fight under Area 9, the youth replied. Han Li, curious, asked why the gladiators stood in line. The youth gestured toward Han Li's badge. "Look at the number beneath your name," he said. Han Li examined the badge and saw his 10 under his name. "What's this?" he inquired. "Profound points. You earn these from battle, whether you win or lose. Newcomers like you get 10 as a start. These points can be traded for weapons, pills, or beast cores," the youth explained. "Beast cores interest you, don't they?" Indeed, the prospect of beast cores piqued Han Li's attention. The gray-robed youth went on. "You can also exchange points for a chance to enter the star pond for cultivation. It harnesses the power of the stars, speeding up the opening of your acupoints." "How much to enter?" Han Li asked, intrigued. 100 profound acupoints, far beyond what you possess," the youth smirked. Han Li's thoughts deepened. While the circumstances were grim, they weren't hopeless. With more beast cores, he could grow stronger. "I've shown you enough. This hall is yours to explore, but keep your head down. Don't think about stirring trouble," the youth warned, his eyes sharp as he departed. Han Li lingered a moment, then left the hall. Below, a massive plaza unfolded with 3 platforms arranged in a triangular formation, surrounded by a deep trench. Spectator stands filled with eager faces overlooked the arena where bloody battles unfolded. Gladiators fought scaled beasts, while others battled amongst themselves. Each contest more brutal than the last. One gladiator was torn apart, his body shredded by the beast, and the crowd erupted in ecstatic madness. Han Li returned to the hall, his thoughts turning to the list of items available for trade. Beast cores and pills caught his eye. The prices varied, but what truly intrigued him was the promise of rewards for battles fought, no matter the outcome. The truth of the arena's deadly nature became clearer. Survival was the key, and Han Li would need to be cunning and powerful to navigate this new world. As Han Li's gaze swept across the list of treasures, his heart stirred. The prices climbed higher with each passing item, revealing a world of power he could only dream of affording for now. During his travels with Chen Yang and others to Green Goat City, he had learned of the Sculptia spatial domain's scaled beasts, formidable creatures with innate power from the spatial tempering stage, able to absorb star power and grow stronger over time. These beasts' cores, teeming with star power, were highly sought after, especially the older ones, whose cores were treasures of immense value. Though Han Li had a rough understanding of their worth, he was still far from being able to purchase such treasures with only 10 profound points in his possession. However, as his eyes rested on an item, a spark of interest lit up within him. 2,000-year-old Tarot Beast Core, 3 profound points. It was an item of some value, yet not too costly. Han Li moved forward with purpose, handing over his badge to the crimson-robed attendant and requesting 3 of the Tarot Beast Cores. Nearby gladiators looked on with disdain, mocking his choice. "Are you new here?" one of them jeered. "Tarot Beast Cores are chaotic in star power, hard to absorb, and most of it will be wasted," the attendant added helpfully, but Han Li's gaze remained resolute. He nodded with understanding, but his decision stood firm. He still took the cores, as they were the best he could afford. The attendant, with a flick of his silver rod, deducted 9 profound points, leaving Han Li with only 1. The cores were handed over, and Han Li departed for his designated quarters, passing through a dim-lit passage to a cave-like room filled with stone chambers. He swiftly located his assigned space, but before he could enter, a burly man with a scar on his face blocked his way. "You're not going to greet the boss first?" The man sneered, demanding Han Li's profound points as tribute. Han Li remained silent, his expression cold as ice. When the man persisted, his arrogance growing, Han Li's voice was sharp. "A good dog knows not to block its owner's path." The gladiators around them chuckled, adding fuel to the fire. Scarface's face flushed with fury as he lunged toward Han Li, his massive hand aiming for his head. But Han Li was quicker, his fist colliding with the man's arm with a sickening crack. The gladiator staggered back, blood spilling from his mouth, his eyes wide with disbelief. The crowd fell silent. Without another word, Han Li entered his room, slamming the door behind him. Inside, he found a simple stone bed and a peculiar white tree root protruding from the ceiling, glowing faintly with star power. His spiritual sense reached out, but the room's walls blocked his probing. However, it became clear that the star power wasn't inherent to the root, but was transmitted into it from another source. Turning his attention to the Tarot Beast Cores, he noted the chaotic star power within. As the attendant had warned, the star power swirled wildly, difficult to absorb. Han Li swallowed one of the cores, only to find the star power inside unruly and uncontrollable. But in that moment, the heaven-controlling vial within his stomach stirred. A faint glow erupted from it, and the erratic star power was drawn in. Han Li could feel the star power settle and grow calm as the vial absorbed it, much more efficiently than he could ever hope to. A drop of green liquid formed within the vial as it finished its task, leaving the remaining star power to swirl gently around the vial. Han Li focused on absorbing the star power that remained, aided by the heaven-controlling vial's mysterious capabilities. The star power began to flow steadily into his body, merging with the energy from the tree root above, awakening his cultivation. The second profound acupoint of his wingform ascension art slowly began to open. Meanwhile, Scarface, now recovering in another chamber, glared toward Han Li's room. The bruises on his arm still a vivid reminder of his defeat. His resentment simmered beneath the surface. But for now, he bided his time, nursing his injuries as mocking laughter echoed from the departing gladiators who had witnessed his humiliation. The hours slipped by as though they were mere moments. The door of the stone chamber across from Scarface creaked open, and the hulking figure of a giant emerged, his footsteps echoing in the stillness. This was none other than Toxic Dragon, a one-eyed colossus whose towering frame was covered in muscles, resembling a bear standing on 2 legs. A massive azure bear's head tattooed across his chest further enhanced his formidable presence, exuding an aura akin to a mountain's weight. Scarface, full of dread, immediately fell to his knees before him. "Boss, you must avenge me!" he cried, his voice quivering. Toxic Dragon's gaze turned to the injured arm of Scarface, his brows knitting in concern. "What happened to your arm, Scarface?" he rumbled. "A rookie did this to me." Scarface gritted through his teeth. Toxic Dragon's attention shifted to a passing gladiator, seeking confirmation. The gladiator nodded in agreement. "Looks like someone needs to learn their place," Toxic Dragon muttered under his breath, his steps heavy with intent as he moved toward Han Li's stone chamber. But just as he neared the door, a burst of black light flickered from the badge at his waist, halting his stride. With a cold grunt, he muttered, "Lucky bastard," and returned to his room. Turning to Scarface, he said, "I have a fight to attend to. Once I return, I'll deal with that newbie." Scarface's face twisted in frustration, but he could do nothing but nod as Toxic Dragon left. Han Li, unaware of the tension outside, sat cross-legged in his chamber, holding the final Tarot Beast core. After a brief moment of hesitation, he swallowed the core, channeling the Wingform Ascension arts as he focused. A profound acupoint on his leg glowed, growing brighter with each passing moment. Eventually, the light surged brightly before dimming, signaling his success. A smile spread across his face as he stood and tested the newfound agility in his legs, feeling lighter, faster. The Wingform Ascension arts was proving its worth more with each step, especially in a place where flight was impossible. But he still had a final acupoint to open, and more Tarot Beast cores were needed. As Han Li marveled at his progress, the badge at his side began to buzz. Upon inspecting it, he discovered a message, and a pleased smile spread across his face. He rose and exited his chamber, passing through the gathered gladiators of the 9th area, who eyed him curiously. He paid them no mind and proceeded toward the exchange hall, heading into a dimly lit passage. At the end of the hall, a stone gate stood and a horned man waited. "You're Li Feiyu?" the horned man asked, eyes narrowing in recognition. "That's right," Han Li responded. "You've arrived just in time for your battle," the horned man said, gesturing to the stone gate. He slapped it with his palm, causing a small opening to form, and stepped through, motioning for Han Li to follow. "We have a truly exciting match today. A tiger-scaled beast, over 3,500 years old, undefeated in 3 prior battles and known to devour its opponents," the horned man proclaimed, his voice reverberating through the hall as the crowd erupted into cheers. "And on the other side, we have a human gladiator from the Immortal Realm, Li Feiyu," he continued. The crowd's reaction was immediate, a mix of shock and amusement. "A human gladiator? It's been over 1,000 years since the last one, and he was torn apart." Voices from the stands echoed with disbelief. The odds for the battle were swiftly set at 5-1, favoring the tiger-scaled beast. As bets flooded in, the odds shifted to 12-1 against the human. "I'll bet on the tiger-scaled beast," a voice rang out, followed by others placing their own bets. Han Li's reputation as a human cultivator had ignited fierce emotions, particularly from those who had lost to Immortal Realm cultivators before. The crowd's hatred for him only grew as the bet stacked higher. "Time's up! Let the battle begin!" The horned man shouted, and the stone gate rose, revealing the battlefield. As Han Li stepped into the arena, the crowd erupted in jeers. He walked slowly, his head lowered to study the blood-stained ground. "The human? He's too weak," voices cried from the stands. "This will be over before it even begins." One muscular green-skinned man laughed heartily, pointing at his companion. "You're betting on the human? If he wins, I'll kneel before you." The horned man, though doubtful, stood by his bet on the human. "Anything's possible," he muttered, but the grim reality was sinking in. No one believed the frail human stood any chance against the ferocious beast. The crowd's disdain grew louder, their anticipation for the human's inevitable demise palpable. The stage was set for a clash that promised only bloodshed, yet hope for a miracle lingered in the air. At the heart of the viewing area, there stood a solitary VIP booth. 2 long stone chairs, each draped with the skins of mighty beasts, awaited their occupants. A stone table was placed before them, upon which rested 2 massive stone cups, brimming with freshly drawn beast's blood. Seated upon one of the chairs was a burly figure, his dark skin gleaming like polished obsidian, while beside him, a woman of captivating form delicately massaged his arm with the gentlest of touches. Opposite him, another man sat, clad in bone armor, his greenish skin a striking contrast to the gleam of his white attire. The armor bore the marks of battle, with deep scars from savage claws running across his face. The burly man, his grin wide and confident, spoke first. "What say you, Hubi? Shall we raise the stakes?" "Raise the stakes?" Hubi scoffed, his eyes narrowing in disbelief. "Have you lost your senses, Chen Yang? Can't you see how weak that mortal is?" A nonchalant chuckle escaped Chen Yang's lips. Risk and reward, my friend. The thrill is what matters. Even if I lose, I'll still relish it. With a sly grin, Hubi answered, If you want to offer me your gold, I'll gladly accept it. But what do you seek in return? For a fleeting moment, doubt clouded Hubi's mind, an inexplicable sense of unease filling his chest as he eyed the human in the arena. But he shook it off. The tiger-scaled beast, a monstrous creature over 3 millennia old, could never be defeated by such a fragile mortal. Very well, Hubi agreed after a pause. But should I win, I claim your woman. His gaze lingered greedily on the woman beside Chen Yang. A sharp slap on her backside was Chen Yang's only reply. She, with a mischievous glint in her eye, turned to meet Hubi's gaze, causing a surge of heat to rise in his chest. The air then trembled as the roar of a mighty beast echoed throughout the arena, drawing all eyes. A massive tiger-scaled beast, its fur black and white as the moonlit sky, leaped from its cage with a force that shook the earth. Its teeth, long and jagged, gleamed in the light, and its roar was filled with rage. Silence fell, followed by a roar of approval from the crowd. Amidst the chaos, Han Li remained unmoved, his eyes cold and calculating. His body exuded no aura, and to the untrained eye he appeared no more than a mortal. As the beast turned its gaze upon him, its low growl rumbled through the air, and in the blink of an eye, it lunged at Han Li. In response, Han Li stepped back, his body moving with a grace that belied his mortal form. With a swift motion, his foot lashed out, striking the beast's jaw. The force was like a thunderclap, knocking the beast's head back with such force that it stumbled. Gasps echoed throughout the stands. The beast, so fearsome just moments ago, was now staggered. Hubi, too, stared, his eyes wide with disbelief. His gaze remained locked on Han Li, unable to look away. Without warning, the tiger-scaled beast regained its footing and with a roar of fury crashed into the ground, sending rocks and dust into the air. Han Li was momentarily obscured, but moments later, the beast charged from the cloud of debris, its giant fang poised to strike. Both hands braced against the fang. Han Li was pushed back, his feet leaving deep trenches in the earth. But with unwavering determination, he forced the beast's head downward, his strength growing as his fists drove the creature's head into the ground with relentless force. The beast shook violently, but Han Li remained unyielding, each punch reverberating through the platform. The crowd fell silent, their disbelief palpable. A mortal, barely more than a shadow before the mighty tiger-scaled beast, was now dominating it. The beast, now battered and broken, twitched weakly beneath Han Li's unrelenting assault. His bloodied fists told the tale of a battle fought and nearly won. And then, as if the battle had not yet reached its peak, the beast's eyes flickered, shifting into dual pupils, green and purple, signifying its mutation into a more powerful form. The crowd gasped, and Hubi's heart leapt in his chest. Chen Yang, his face now clouded with concern, murmured to himself, "A dual-pupil tiger-scaled beast? A C-tier scaled beast. This must end now." Without hesitation, he rose, intending to intervene, but was halted by Hubi's voice. "Where are you going, Brother Chen?" Chen Yang's voice was urgent, his hand gripping Hubi's arm as he tried to pull him away from the battlefield. "This fight must end. We can't allow it to continue." Hubi's eyes narrowed with fury. "The rules are clear. Once the battle begins, it must play out. Are you willing to defy the city lord's command, just to protect your woman from me?" His voice was sharp and his stance unyielding. Chen Yang paused, the tension in his body easing slightly as he let go of Hubi's arm. "I will speak to the city lord," he said coldly, determination flashing in his eyes. Hubi sneered. "Go ahead, but the city lord will not break his rules for anyone, not even for you." Ignoring the mocking tone, Chen Yang turned and stormed out of the VIP booth, heading straight for the city lord's mansion. Meanwhile, the spectators were beginning to realize the true nature of the beast facing Han Li. The dual-pupil tiger-scaled beast. The air was thick with disbelief, and many were unsure of whom to root for. Some who had bet on the beast were grinning from ear to ear, while others began to feel pity for Han Li. The horned man, who had supported Han Li, was sitting on the ground, his face pale with despair. On the other side, the green-skinned man who had mocked him earlier was grinning in vindication. Han Li, still composed, surveyed his opponent with a keen eye. The moment the second set of pupils appeared on the tiger-scaled beast, its aura surged, filling the arena with a terrifying pressure. Han Li bent slightly, preparing for battle as the beast snarled, its fangs bared in a display of dominance. The beast, though injured from their previous clash, now appeared far more cautious, no longer charging blindly at him. The battle was fierce. The tiger-scaled beast unleashed a barrage of scales that shot toward Han Li like a storm of arrows. Reacting swiftly, Han Li dug his foot into the ground, vanishing from his position and reappearing to the side just as the scales rained down. But the beast had already anticipated his move and appeared before him with lightning speed, its massive jaws snapping toward his head. Han Li crouched low, narrowly avoiding the beast's bite, before springing upward with a powerful punch that struck the beast to the side. The force of the blow sent shockwaves through Han Li's hand, his fingers bleeding as they trembled from the impact. Yet he paid no mind to the pain, pressing forward in relentless pursuit of his foe. The tiger-scaled beast retaliated with another volley of scales, but Han Li was quick to dodge, rolling to the side and using his profound acupoints to propel himself toward the beast's head. The beast didn't back down, snapping its jaws toward Han Li once more. This time, however, Han Li didn't evade. Instead, he slammed his fist into the ground, launching himself high into the air, narrowly avoiding the beast's deadly fangs. With no time to change his course, Han Li landed on the beast's nose, only for it to tilt its head sharply, forcing him off balance. As he descended, the beast's whiskers lashed toward him like razor-sharp swords, each one glowing with starlight, threatening to tear him apart. In a desperate move, Han Li used his fingers to bend one of the whiskers downward, propelling himself higher into the air before landing near the beast's left ear. With a powerful kick, he struck the ear, channeling all his remaining energy into the blow. The impact sent the beast's head snapping to the side, and it staggered disoriented. Han Li, bloodied and battered, fell from the beast's ear and collapsed onto the ground. The beast, too, wavered on its feet, swaying as blood poured from its wounds. The arena was filled with a tense silence as both combatants lay seemingly defeated. "Who wins?" shouted a voice from the stands. The tiger-scaled beast, despite its blinding injuries, managed to rise first, stumbling toward Han Li. But it collapsed once more after only a few steps, its head landing at Han Li's feet. With great effort, Han Li struggled to stand and approached the beast. He then took his seat atop its head, focusing the last of his strength into the flower branch domain refined into his fingers. With a series of brutal strikes, he punctured the beast's glabella and extracted its core, holding it up with a victorious grin. Without hesitation, Han Li swallowed the core whole, the spectators erupting in wild applause. The horned man, overjoyed, shouted, "I did it! I'm rich!" Inside the city lord's manor, Du Qingyang stood silently, massaging a pair of beast bones. When Chen Yang arrived, he spoke with cold authority. "I'm aware of the situation. I personally gave the order to replace the opponent with the tiger-scaled beast." "But, city lord," Chen Yang interjected urgently, "Li Feiyu cannot win this battle. If he dies, his bloodline will be wasted." Du Qingyang turned to him, a dismissive wave of his hand indicating his disinterest. "If he dies, then so be it. This is not for you to concern yourself with." With a nod, Chen Yang left, his mind heavy with the city lord's indifference. Upon returning to the arena, Chen Yang found Hubi wrapped around the woman, his hand inappropriately placed. The woman cast a helpless glance at Chen Yang, but he remained silent, his gaze fixed on the arena as the sounds of the excited crowd filled the air.